Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the 1996 TV movie. Yes, in fact, before there was ever a TV series, there was a TV movie starring that of Melissa Joan Hart. The TV movie came out on Showtime. I actually watched the TV movie sometime during the middle of like the TV series. And I was very shocked and surprised to see this because ABC decided to show it one Saturday night. And it is leaps and bounds somewhat different from that of the TV show. And I was very shocked and surprised by some of the changes and stuff. However, I actually enjoyed the TV movie. And in some ways, I wish the 90s ABC show was more like the TV movie. In fact, since we've had like what is it? We've had like an old like 80s, 70s type Sabrina animated series. I've never seen that. Then they had like, the 90s TV show, which I love to death. Then they had like the animated series that came out after that, starring Emily Hart, which is Melissa Joan Hart's sister. Then they had a bunch of like other animated series that came for that in the 3D type animated series. And of course, they had the chilling adventures of Sabrina. But I really wish they would make more of a dramatic drama type Sabrina show with a little bit of like hero action in it. Not full on like, Harry Potter and stuff like the 3D animated movie did with her having a wand and stuff. But something where it's like a regular drama, some darkness in it, some hearted like humor here and there for like levity and stuff, but something that would kind of resemble the CW, but not as cheesy as the CW and stuff. Because it's like Sabrina has had so many different looks in like the comics and stuff, and one that really strikes my eye is the one where she has like this pink, sparkly like power effect and everything. And I'm just thinking to myself, a cool YA type drama series would be really cool for that. And so hopefully one day they'll do something like that. Because I do not like the chilling adventures of Sabrina. I just felt like it just fell off like, a mountain cliff or something. And how does the creator of the comic screw up his own show? He's managed to do that twice with Riverdale and stuff. I don't get it. The source material is there. The source material sounds so cool and everything. And he messed up both. I don't get that. But like this TV movie, it came out in April of 96, and the show ironically came out in September of 96. So they really scrambled to like recast some people, get the structure of the show and stuff like that, because the movie is more of a coming of age teen movie with a little bit of humor in it and stuff. And so like when they made the series, they decided to make it to a more sitcom, like wacky type, adventures and stuff. And it really paved the way, for a lot of other stuff. But it was set in that 90s cheesy kind of style, and people ate it up. I know I did. I still love the Sabrina 90s show. Well, when it was on ABC. When it went to the WB, I didn't have cable at that time. And when I did and finally watched, like, I think, what was it, the 5th or 6th season, I'm just kind of like, this just does not feel right. It was too mature. It was like, it's weird because they tried to mature that of Sabrina and have her in college, give her a job, but then they still had the wackiness of the show that they was kind of trying to get away from, but they couldn't find a nice blend. Then they got rid of, and then the aunt stayed on the show, which made no sense because they lived at home. Sabrina did her stuff with all her brand new friends, got rid of her old friends. And then, they started to ease out, like, the aunts and de-aged them and recast them, and one of them just went away, and it was just like it was a mess when they went to WB and stuff. But like when it was on ABC, in my opinion, it was like at its best. And it was cheesy, it was corny, it was fun, you know what I'm saying? And so like I just grew to love that series. And then when the movie, I finally watched the movie, I'm just kind of like, oh, cool, what is this? And then I'm just kind of like, well, what is this? And I just learned to love it. And I just really took it in for like what it was and everything. It was the prequel to like one of the most amazing shows of them all time. And I truly feel like the other TV movies that came out afterwards was more based off of this TV movie than it was the series, because with the other two TV series where she goes to Rome and Australia, there's no real continuity to that of the show, but there's a little bit of it. So it's kind of like a blend of both and everything, and also not in its own separate continuity. It's weird. But this one has like, because of the camera graininess and everything, it has a darker looking vibe, which I'm really digging and stuff. Whereas the TV show was very bright and colorful. And I wish the Chilling Adventures could have got their stuff together, because this is a really cool TV movie. It could use a bit more drama, a bit more darkness and everything. But for the most part, it was just back in the Sabrina days of being lighthearted and humorous and stuff. But for the most part, it is a, dramatic movie and everything. It's a teen drama of all stuff. And there are so many changes from that, the comic to that, the TV show, when they made this movie. Like, for instance, Sabrina's last name isn't Spellman, it's Sawyer. And both her parents in this movie are witches. And the reason why she lived with her aunts is because once like teenage witch starts to gain their powers, they have to go for training. So they have to go with like a relative and stuff. And so that's why she's with Hilda and Zelda. Now, Hilda and Zelda are played by two completely different actresses in this movie. Why they decided to recast them for the show, I have no idea. But I love the ones from the show. I grew up with them, man. But I really like these two as well. And crazy enough, they kind of resemble the TV aunts a little bit. But what's crazy about the movie aunts is that their personalities have been flip-flopped and everything. Now Zelda is like the kooky kind of silly one and everything. And Hilda is the more serious and smart one and everything, which is kind of weird. Because it's what's so crazy is that I was confused, because when I watched this movie, it takes a good while before they even mention their names. It takes about 30 minutes into the movie before they even, or about 30, 40, 50 minutes before they even mention their names, right? And because they look similar to the TV aunts, I assumed the one with red hair was Zelda and everything, but that's Hilda. And I'm just kind of like, what? And so that really threw me for like, a loop and everything. And so like I believe Sherry Miller, she is the one who played Hilda in this. And it's so crazy because she's the one with red hair, and she's more serious. She's more like, it's funny. It's like a thing in the movie where she hates All My Children, the soap opera. And so because of that, she caused Susan Lucci to never win an award for that. Because she used her magic and stuff. And that's just hilarious. Now, Charlene Fern-Tez, she plays Zelda, and she's more of like, the kookier one a bit. And it's just so weird because she looks like, the Hilda from the television series. And so, not quite sure why they decided to swap and everything. But for whatever reason, it's just pretty neat. And so the way they dress is very odd, kind of like all these like long type gowns. They look very witch-like, but also outdated. Like they're back from the older days, but they are like hundreds and hundreds of years old. You know what I'm saying? And so Salem is voiced by Brian Steele, and he's British in this version. And he barely talks. Like you don't know he talks until about 30 minutes into the movie. And at first he's mentioned as just being a familiar, but then it's revealed that he got turned into the cat because he used magic when he was a warlock on on just a regular person and tried to make her fall in love with him. And so since you're not supposed to use magic for love and everything, he got turned into a cat. And so like he's not even really funny in this, and he barely says anything, and he doesn't really help out. And he's nothing like the television version, who tried to take over the world, got turned into a cat, and very snarky and sarcastic and stuff. So I'm not sure why they went with this like version, but like whatever. And so, but a lot of stuff that happens in this movie actually happens in the Sabrina pilot, but it's like reworked around, you know what I'm saying? So it could be just slightly different. And so, like, in this version, she doesn't know she's a witch, and but the aunts do. And she goes to school, and the whole I think levitation thing and stuff like that. And so she goes to school, and it's like she doesn't even know she's a witch. Where it's different in like the show, because they tell her right before she goes to school. And so like other things that are different about this is that they live in Riverdale as opposed to Greendale in the comic and the Chilling Adventures and Westbridge in the show. And whenever I see Riverdale, I'm just like, Archie in the games and stuff. And so Sabrina is the new student at this school, Riverdale, like high school and stuff, right? And so we get the introduced to like a bunch of new characters and somewhat recast characters and stuff. Harvey is completely recast by an actor named Tobias Metler. And this version of Harvey is very, very, very nerdy. Like, I don't know, like the one from the TV show was nerdy too, but he was more kind of like, I don't know, some dude who's always like sad, kind of depressed, like a slug and everything. Kind of a jock, but kind of not. You know what I'm saying? Like he was dopey, but this dude is dopey nerdy and everything. Like he is like madly in love with like Sabrina, but he's an extreme goody two shoes and everything. And every time like Sabrina wants to do something that he feels is inappropriate, he points it out. Like she likes this guy named Seth. And he's a senior and Sabrina's like a sophomore. And he's like, Sabrina, he's a senior. He's all like, he's out of your league and everything. And he's inappropriate for you. Stuff like that. It's like he's like that, And he's a little bit of a stalker. Like there's a pool party for all the people who's on track team, and he crashes the party just so he can spy on Sabrina and make sure she doesn't do anything she isn't supposed to, and like stuff like that. It's like so weird. And he is like a super dork. Like when he finds out Sabrina went out to Lookout Point with Seth to go make out, he's like, oh no. And so like he takes the girl's bike and he just rides off to stop her, of all things. He's a little clingy stalkerish, if you ask me. He's too obsessed with her. And so like this is one of the most interesting things ever. They did the same thing in like the Australian Sabrina movie, where they take her best friend, rename her, and give her a completely different personality. So Michelle Beyond Dawn, I think her name is. Now she played Jenny in the television series, and Jenny was a dorky kind of hipster, smart girl, but very, very dorky and everything. Who only lasted for the first season only, and then got written out. Melissa Joan Hart said the one reason why so many people kept like leaving the show and then bringing in new people is completely different reasons. Like some people didn't test well with the audience. Other people's story arcs were like over. They wanted to try something new and fresh by bringing in new people. So we don't really know why she departed the show. It could be because she just didn't test well with the audience because they wrote her to be super, super annoying, like dorky in the show. The way she just didn't fit in with the rest of the characters and stuff, which is a shame because she is gorgeous and a really great actress. And her character, where she plays Marnie in the movie, is completely different. In the movie, she's not very smart and does not well in school, but she's not a complete dork. Like, she's actually popular in her own right and she's cool and everything. Like, you know how you have like the clique of people who are very popular, and then you kind of have like, you know, the people in between, like they're not super popular, but they're not super dorky either. They're just like in the middle. That's where Marnie fits in, and she's like popular in her own right. She has more of a personality. You can get along with her better than Jenny. She has a really cool vibe to her, you know. And I really love how they wrote her character in this movie, but I don't know why they did it the way they did in the TV show. But just like in this, she meets Sabrina for the first time and become like best friends and stuff. Now, Seth, he is somewhat a antagonist, somewhat protagonist in the middle, like anti-type, you know what I'm saying? He's played by Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself. And this is actually a movie I like him in. I like him in Deadpool as well. Every other thing he's been in, I just can't stand him. I just can't. He acts the same way and everything, and it's just not doing it for me. And that's why a lot of his movies sadly bomb and stuff. But in this movie, in the Deadpool movies, oh yeah, I like it. He has a very 90s hairstyle. He looks like a Backstreet Boy in sync dude. He has that like boy band hairstyle, which was popular at that time. But rewatching it now, it's like, oh man. And he has never had hair like that since, thank God. Now his character, he's like the jock, and he's like the cool guy, and he's dating this one girl named either Kathy or Katie or something like that. And so him and her break up because, you know, they just want to like spread their wings. Right now, he's not the mean type of jock who picks on nerds. In fact, he's actually kind of friends with Harvey only because Harvey does his homework for him. But other than that, he really doesn't socialize with Harvey, except for when Harvey and him were just like talking one day, and he's actually being nice and want to know who Harvey's going to like the prom with, and he decides he'll go with who wins the track meet, and talking about how hot Sabrina is and all this stuff, which makes Harvey jealous, and telling Harvey, you know, you gotta find somebody, man, stuff like that. So he's not too terribly bad. But towards the end of the movie, he does do that jerkish guy prom thing where he takes Sabrina off to like a secluded like location, isolated location, and tries to make out with her constantly with her to keep pushing him away and stuff. So that's really the only real bad thing he does in the movie. And so she gets out the car, and you know, he doesn't necessarily drive off, but she uses her magic to like make his car explode and spin around and everything. And then we have Katie. Katie is played by Lelania Lindenberg. No, Lynn Jerk? I don't know how to say her name. It's hard. And she's like the Libby of the show. But she's just as mean as Libby, but Libby is worse. Libby is the original Regina George, in my opinion. Libby, you can't no. Libby was just vile and everything. But like this girl is just snooty like cheerleader type, you know? Like she doesn't like Sabrina because Seth likes Sabrina and stuff. And so she's always rude and mean to Sabrina. And when Sabrina learns that she's magical, you know, she puts like a zit on her and stuff like that. But then like she finds out Sabrina might be a witch when she sees Sabrina's shoes moving on their own. And ironically, she doesn't act scared or shocked or surprised by this, which is weird. A lot of people don't act surprised to magic in this movie, which is bizarre and weird. And so, like, at the prom type thing, she steals Sabrina's, like, you know, spell book out her locker and she tells Sabrina, I know what you are. I know you're a witch. And so Sabrina tries to play it off by acting like, you know, the witch from the Wizard of Oz talking about, like, all, like, you know, do something to your dog too, or something like whatever that phrase is. And so before she can run and tell anybody, Sabrina just turns her into like a dog. And stuff. Now, what's crazy is that she plays a character in Sabrina the animated series named Kathy. And in fact, she's like a big voice actress. She was the voice of Venus in the Fox Kids like Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, the female Ninja Turtle and stuff. I had no idea that was her voice. And what's also crazy, she normally voices people named Katie or Kathy. Now, Fran, I had no idea who this character was at this time, but she is played by Kia Wong, and she is best known for playing Jubilee in the second and third Fox X-Men movie. I had no idea that's who she was. She's basically the best friend to Katie, mean girl type and everything. She gets a few lines here and there. I had no idea it was her. Now, one cool thing they do with this movie when it comes to the magic is that it's more like, you know, it's rhymes and chants, just like, you know, the show and stuff like that. And they use sparkles just like the show, but it's not bright, colorful sparkles. It has more of that dim lidded kind of sparkleness to it. And they use this kind of like cool music for whenever they use their magic. And they always move their hands around or they'll close their eyes. The way Hilda does it is really cool. Like she is really good when she uses her magic for like effect. She closes her eyes, she moves her hands and like her head around to really give you that sense that she has like magic and everything. And I really like how they do that. Also in this movie, witches don't need like a broom to fly, they can fly on their own, which Sabrina has a hard time doing, and you know, she is unable to fly. Like basically what it is, you get to like a high point, you jump off, and then you're supposed to levitate, but she is unable to do it and she falls multiple times. Another thing that's cool with the magic in this is like if you put a spell on anybody, no matter what kind of spell it is, they will forget like what happened prior to that. And so you never have to like give them like an excuse of like, oh, you know, you just hit your head or something like that. So that's kind of like really cool and neat. Oh wait, Sabrina does finally fly in this movie towards the end. I forgot. That's what the thumbnail thing is. It's a picture of. But yeah, she finally does fly and everything towards the end of the movie. I completely forgot. And so basically with the magic, you know, so whatever you think of, you just have to like write it down, rhyme it, and then boom, it like happens and stuff. Now, one thing you can't do with magic is make somebody fall in love with you in any way, shape, or form. Because, you know, love is so powerful, it always backfires, and so the witches council does not allow it. And so like you're not even supposed to do anything to help you like gain an advantage to like fall in love, because once you kiss that person, if it's not true love, you turn into a cat familiar like Salem did. Also, the witches realm is so much cooler in this movie. In the show, you know, you go into the closet and it's like you're in like the clouds and it's a lot of wacky, silly goofiness, right? Here, you go into like, you know, your closet wardrobe and everything, and you're transported to like this dark land. It's like a dark beach area and stuff. The water's dark, the grass and the dirt is like, dim lit. It's at night. It's really haunting and beautiful at the same time. And Sabrina's like magic book is completely different looking in this. They did. I don't know why they redesigned it for the show. They didn't have to redesign the book unless they didn't have the prop anymore. And so her book can only be used under the full moon of like her birthday and stuff. If you try to look at it before then, there are no words in it. And so, one of the big drawbacks of this movie is that, like I said before, when people see magic happening, they don't act shocked and surprised, which is really weird and bizarre. And I don't understand that. Now, as for Sabrina herself, she is almost nothing like the TV character. This one's more shy, a bit more timid, because she's at a new school and there are mean people around. She's not as sarcastic and snarky and super selfish as she is in the show. Now she is selfish in this movie, but it's for like different reasons. But for the most part, she's all around good girl. Whereas the other one was just like zany and stuff like that. And Melissa Joan Hart does an amazing job playing both different versions of like Sabrina. And I really like that. But it's only when she finds out she's a witch and she starts using magic, then her personality starts to change. She starts to blow off her friends Harvey and Marnie, and she starts to use magic for selfish gain and everything. To win like a track meet, to put like a zit on somebody, to make people forget certain things, stuff like that. And so, of course, she uses magic to try to make Seth fall in love with her. It's like she wants him and only him because he's the big, good-looking jock type dude. And so she tries to use her magic to make him fall in love, and it doesn't work. And she's using that for a very selfish reason. But when you're like, just finding out about magic and like a teenager, yeah, you kind of probably would do something like that. So basically with her, what happens is she moves in with her aunts and she goes to school. She gets picked on by kids, and then she meets Marnie, who she has a great time hanging with. Harvey's totally obsessed and like constantly trying to make her do good stuff. And then so like one day when she's walking outside, she's passing the store, and in the window's reflection she sees herself, but it's not her. She's dressed in like a white outfit, and she's riding a broom, and she's smiling at herself, whereas the actual Sabrina is like scared and everything. And so she doesn't know what's going on. Oh, also when you go into the witch's realm, you wear like all white for some reason. And so because Salem doesn't talk until 30 minutes later, she has no idea what's going on. Her aunts give her like a wrapped up book, and they show her a wrapped up book and talk about, this is your birthday. And no, yeah, they give her that, but then they hide it, and she sees where they hide it, and she reads it and talking about how you can't open it till your birthday and under the moon and stuff like that. She opened it anyway, and it's a giant spell book, but no words are in it, right? So, one night when she's asleep and the book disappears at one point and comes back, she's asleep because something terrible had happened when she went to the pool party and stuff. Basically, what is it? No. Wait. I think this is before she found out she was a witch. So basically, her aunts, I guess, like, no, okay, I can't remember what happened. I know no, that's what happened. That's what happened. Okay. Her powers are starting to act out even before she found out she's a witch. I'm trying to think, because I remember the pool thing, I thought she used her magic, but she didn't. And so like her powers is starting to happen. And so like when she says she wishes this would happen and something happens, right? And so she's at the pool party and Katie tries to like, make her slip on like the little jumping thing. She somehow does like some type of like acrobatic type thing and goes in perfectly, right? But then she gets embarrassed when she's like, with Marnie, they're talking about like Seth and how cute he is and his butt and stuff like that. So Katie has like the microphone and everybody can hear it. And so this embarrasses Sabrina. Anyway, at some point, when it's her birthday time, the book comes out of like, the wardrobe on the wardrobe, and it takes her in there. And she's totally okay with a floating book and all this other crap, or maybe it was like a sparkly light that came from the wardrobe, but she's totally okay with it. Like she's not scared, she's not frightened, and she's smiling. She goes in the wardrobe and in the witch's realm, and then there are her aunts along with Salem. And so, like, with the spell book, and they tell her what she is. At some point in time, Hilda makes it so Sabrina wasn't embarrassed at like the pool party. Instead of reversing time like in the television show and having her redo her embarrassing day like she did in the pilot, instead, Hilda just like halfway into the party right before she got embarrassed, Sabrina pretended like her stomach hurt and left. But Sabrina doesn't remember doing that. So it's kind of like she plucked her from time so none of that embarrassing stuff would happen, which is strange and bizarre. Anyway, since learning magic, Sabrina now uses it for like her own personal gain. And when she can't find out that, she can't use love, she decides, okay, Seth will, go out with whoever wins the trap meet out of between herself or Katie. So, like, um, she spells her shoes so they can like run really fast. And it's funny, like Melissa does a great job pretending to run in a bizarre kind of way, in a magical kind of way. It's just so cute to see and everything. So anyway, she wins, and so like at first she wasn't gonna use magic because her aunts told her no matter what you can't use it for like personal gain of love, and so she takes the spell off and then she puts it back and she wins and everything. And so because of this, she's now worried that what if Seth doesn't like really like her, but she thinks he does, and she don't think she'll turn into a familiar. Now Salem did not tell her that if the true love kiss thing don't work, you will be turned into a cat because he wants himself a little girlfriend. And so like while at the party and everything, she realizes something when Seth takes her to Lookout Point. He's just being like a jerk and everything, and he's not very nice, and he's just kind of selfish, and so she doesn't want to kiss him. And so like she makes his car explode and everything when he tries to like kiss her over and over, but she won't let him. And then Harvey shows up. Now when Harvey shows up is interesting because when he finds out she went to Lookout Point, he tries to stop it. And so like he asked a girl for her bike who's at the little prom thing. And the girl, I'm pretty sure this is a lesbian couple, like, because of the way she's dressed and the way she acts, and she's with this other girl and the way they're talking. This is really interesting because this was back in 1996 and they did not show LGBT stuff a lot on television and in movies. And so, like, he rides his bike out there and him and Sabrina talk. So Sabrina decides she's going to use her magic, and she only wants like her and him to hear the music in their head, and then they levitate in the air, and it's a very beautiful scene, and they levitate all the way back to like the school. And like when he's looking at the sky and I'm levitating, he's just smiling like he has no idea. Like it's weird, people don't react to magic, but then when they land, he looks around, it's all like, well, how did we get here? And she's like, duh, on the bike and everything. So like he lost his memory of how he got there, even though his eyes were open. And I love the way they're floating in the air with the sparkles through the clouds. It's very beautiful looking and very enchanting looking. And so basically, she returns Katie back into a human, and she gives Harvey a kiss. And she looks at him, she's like, do I look different to you? And he's like, no, and everything. And it's because, like, that was true love's kiss, and she didn't turn into a cat familiar. And so it basically ends with Katie and Seth getting back together. Now, her and Marnie does have an argument in the movie. Basically, when Katie is no longer like popular and Sabrina's becoming popular, Katie's friends want to hang out with Sabrina, which she starts to ditch Marnie and everything. And I love how Marnie like sticks up for herself when Sabrina went to her house. She's all like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do I know you?" and everything. But then they apologize and they make back up and stuff like that. But yeah, this was like a really cool movie that they came out with. I wish they would make a television series similar to this movie. And I think 'cause Sabrina has to be around, man. She's around nearly every couple of decades. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch was such a cool character. Like she just needs to be around on television in some way or another. Now, the movie was put out on VHS. It's never been on DVD, but some people claim that it's on DVD in other countries, which most likely it probably is, or bootleg. This movie is available on YouTube and also that Roku like TV channel thing, whatever it's called, that app, and some other ones too. Because this thing has never been put out on DVD for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. Like it didn't even come out on the Sabrina Teenage Witch like series DVD that came out that came like for like $30. All the other TV movies are on there except for this one for some bizarre reason. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.